All right, we are back, and I am excited to be here. I am coming off an amazing event in Utah. I had a wonderful time. I got a chance to head out there and participate in an event that brought in educators, that brought in leaders, that brought in tech coaches. But a group that I want to make sure to highlight today are the librarians who I had a chance to meet with and learn from. And I know for me, when I was an elementary school principal, having a strong library for students to go and read and get to learn about books and get to have that love of reading is where I saw students begin to shine. And that carried over into the classroom. And because we are the Stronger Together podcast, I want to talk about that collaboration with our schools, with our school librarians, and really focus on the educators who are doing that each and every day. So I want to bring in two of our librarian rock stars today, all the way from Utah. We have Gretchen and Davina. Welcome to the Stronger Together podcast.
Thank you for having us.
Of course, of course. So for those of you, those out there who don't know you or your work, I'd love for you to share a little bit about your passion in around librarians.
My name is Gretchen Zaitzeff, as Matt introduced me. I have been in school libraries for almost 15 years. It's actually my third career, but I feel like it's has always been my calling, is to connect kids and books and information. I've worked in elementary, high school, and a K-12 learning environment. And now I have an opportunity to serve at a district in Utah.
Oh, wonderful. That's super exciting.
Hey, I am Davina Sauthoff. I also came from a different world before librarians. I was a classroom teacher, and then I moved into a junior high role. I really, really miss my junior high students. I think that is like the best age ever. But then
God bless you.
They're just little kids that want to be loved and cared about. So they probably hate me for saying that, but anyway, I love the world of librarians. I'm a voracious reader, and it's really fun to, help other students, other kids have that experience and learn to love reading in that same way. So
no, and I think that's really important. And I know when I was a principal, library was a special, meaning the students would go there for a period. But I always wanted to incorporate in the day-to-day, the pulse of our school. And I know for me, my librarian was amazing and vibrant. And I had a chance to meet some amazing, including yourselves, librarians in Utah, and you could just see the impact that they make. So I'd love for you to share a little bit about what the superpower of librarians are.
I think the superpower of librarians is that they're pathfinders.
Oh, I like that.
They're opening the path for students to find information and stories that meet their academic needs and personal interests. So, maybe they need something for an assignment where they're doing research, but also, their personal interests, whether it's soccer or bugs or whatever it is.
Whatever.
Dinosaurs are huge, in elementaries, but whatever it is, that they can find it in the library, and the librarian helps them find it.
I like that. And Davina, I'm going to have you expand on that, because as a principal, I didn't know what to look for or what to expect. I know you worked in, junior high and you're in schools. What would you tell leaders out there to look for a librarian that is impactful?
I think they're connectors, not just with students, but with their educators. The librarian has a really unique role where they get to meet every single student in the building and every single teacher. They collaborate with every single teacher, and they teach lessons and co-teach with teachers so that they basically get to know and learn about every student in the building. So they have that unique perspective of being able to connect students with those personal things that Gretchen was talking about, that they might want more information about, whether it is personal or academic. And so there's no other, the administrator has a similar role that way, but They have so many other things that are going on. And so the librarian really gets to kind of hone in and get to know those students on a personal level. and find ways to create opportunities for learning and connecting them with the things that they're interested in that are relevant to them.
Yeah, and that's so important when we talk about the learning community of a school and really bringing that out. And there's more than just students and teachers in the community. How are librarians connected to families? If either of you could share, how is that collaboration working outside of the library itself with families so that they can feel a part of the library as well?
I think that is really like a main role for school librarians, is that connection with families. So many times I've had parents say, I want my child to be a reader, but I don't know what there is. These are the
Right.
things that they might like. And so that partnership where they can come together, the parent knowing implicitly what the child likes and dislikes, but also the librarian knowing the wealth of resources and books that are available, and those two connecting to help meet the needs of that student, whether it's, the Spanish version of the Lionel Messi biography, or, it's
Sure.
some other book that, or resource that the student's interested, so they can pursue their own curiosity, their own learning.
Yeah,
I was gonna
that's
say,
great.
I always tell my librarians that the parents are the ones who know their students the best. And so without that partnership, like it makes it harder for a librarian to know what they can provide for those students that is going to be that connecting piece for them. And so we have librarians that survey their families, like, what
Oh,
books should
that's a
I be
great
putting
idea.
in the library? And what do you want to see more of? What are the interests of your students, so that I can purchase books that meet those interests, and things like that. So it is a really important partnership that we really want to elevate. And I actually have had a lot of parents say to me, well, what, can I go into the library?
Right.
Yes, we want you in the library. We want you to stop by and say, hey, like, this is what my student likes. You have books on this. Help me choose books for, that I can take home and read with my students and build that love of learning, that love of reading, the love of learning of reading. I don't know how to say
Yeah,
that,
no,
but
that works. I think that's what we're trying
But
to get in whatever we're doing in our profession, education.
oh.
Gretchen,
I
go
think,
ahead. I cut you off.
no, that's okay. But we have like roughly 700,000 students in Utah schools.
Wow.
And
Okay.
we know that about 70,000 of them are loved in languages other than English. And so, finding texts in those languages, their home languages, that they can share with their families, is really another thing that a librarian can do to support families. So we had a student whose mother speaks Tagalog, and
Okay.
we had a book in that language that they were so excited to take home and share with their parent, in that home language, in the language of their parents and their grandparents and their aunts and their uncles. And making that connection helps students have a positive relationship with school and with learning.
Absolutely. And it just talks about bringing it all together. One of the things that you kind of touched on a little bit, and I want to go a little bit deeper, you talked about igniting that passion for learning. So it's not just a place for kids to go to get books, or it's not just a place for families to get a resource. It's a place to really get students excited and ignite some of their different passions. I know you brought bugs up or different things. How have you seen that? Give some examples where you saw a librarian do some work with students and it just had them come alive.
Well, students, I mean, every student is different. Every student's an individual. Every student has a background. And, one of the joys of being a school librarian is actually handing a student the book that you bought because they requested it.
Oh, wow.
So I had a student who was interested in Magic the Gathering. He's a high schooler, hadn't had much experience. And so I did a lot of research on, how, because I didn't know that much about it either. So I
Okay.
did a lot of research on, like, if I knew nothing, where would I start? You
Right.
know, and then I was able to provide those kind of resources to them so that they could use it to learn more about this game that they were interested in. Not something that's like serious academic, but something that they were curious about and wanted to learn more.
I like it. And now today's a pretty special day. And I think for me, that part of why I do this is incredibly selfish, because I get to meet some amazing people and continue to learn. So through that, I learned so many great things. And when we were kind of talking about picking a day and looking at some of the topics, you shared with me that today is the Right to Read Day, April 8th, 2024. So I've been a principal for 10 years. I've been in the district office for now 8. And I have to just be vulnerable and say, I just learned about this. So I would love for you to share a little bit more information on it. One, for me, because I'm going to work. I work in a school district. I'm an assistant superintendent in an amazing district. And I want to share this with our schools and our work. And I think the last question was about igniting passion, and that's why I love to do this and go to events like the events that I got a chance to meet you, because I get to learn so much as well. So educate our viewers on this special day and why we kicked off the week connecting.
Want me to take that one, Gretchen?
Sure.
Jump right in, Davina.
Well, I just think we live in such a wonderful place, and I think we often take for granted that we have access to education that some other countries may not have access to. And so this National Right to Read Day is just the belief that every one of us globally has. I know it's just a national holiday that we celebrate here, but we really do want to emphasize that every human on this planet should have the right to learn how to read, because reading opens up so many opportunities and access to things that we wouldn't otherwise have. It gives us the opportunity to maybe learn about something that we really find a passion in that we wouldn't have had we not had the skill of learning to read. And so on this day, we really want to highlight, we want to do this. Librarians do this every single day, in schools and throughout their communities, whether it's public libraries or school libraries. But we really want to highlight just the benefit of reading, having families read together and doing literacy activities together, doing reading activities in schools where kids can get excited about reading, just fostering that love of reading and the opportunities that it opens up for students and humans throughout their lives, being able to do that. Gretchen, jump in and add more. I know you have more to add.
Well, so I love reading, just like Davina. She's a voracious reader. I'm slower, but I just love the idea of it. There are so many great emotional skills that we learned through reading. Empathy, compassion, just information, things I've learned reading books that I didn't know, and maybe intentionally or unintentionally. But I think that if you can read and comprehend what you're reading, you can learn anything. I mean, I think it was Albert Einstein who said, all you really need to know is how to get to the library, because once you're there, you could learn it all. And not every family has the wherewithal or the capacity to have 10,000 volumes in their home library. But if you have 10,000 volumes in your school library, you could walk in and pretty much learn anything about anything, or read a story about anyone from anywhere. And I just think that's the universe. That's everything you could possibly want to know.
Yeah, and I think it really makes it come to life. And not only is today a special day, it's all week we're celebrating. Make sure to check out all the great resources all week throughout. And if you are a parent or you part of a school in any capacity, make sure to connect with your schools to see what they're doing. If you want to check out what the American Library Association is sharing, that is going to be scrolling down below. So for example, tomorrow is National Library Workers Day. Make sure to thank all the amazing librarians that are out there. And then Wednesday is Library Outreach Day. So many things are happening this week as well. And one of the things I always say, and I wrote a blog about this when it was like Teacher Appreciation Week, or Insert Appreciation Week, it doesn't end on Friday. Women's History Month did not end because April started. Like Black History Month did not end because February ended. Like we have to continue this work throughout our year. So the Library Appreciation Week does not end on Friday. It is throughout the year. So you all got into this role for some reason. Like I went into elementary education because there wasn't any male teachers when I was in elementary school. And that was important to me growing up with my mom and my sister. And that's how I ended up on my journey. So what was something that you, in your educational journey, that got you passionate about this cause and this work?
When I was in 5th grade, my teacher was best friends with the school librarian. And we got to read the new books that were coming into the school. She got first dibs. And my teacher would read to us every day for like 15 minutes after lunch. And I wanted access to those new books too. Maybe it's the need to be first. I don't know. But one day, the parent volunteers didn't show up. And the librarian came to my teacher and asked if during recess, a friend and I could work in the library with kindergartners. And I can't tell you how empowering it is to stamp the little checkout things for younger students. But after that, I could always be found in the library. Like if there was a moment in my day that I could be in the library, I was in the library. And I think I read every book in, like there was a biography series that was, for elementary students. I think I started at the A's and I read the entire series. And then I would just do that. I would just find some corner of the library that looked like it needed love, and I'd start reading whatever there was that was interesting.
Awesome.
My journey was a little bit different. I was a voracious reader, but I think, and I fell into being a librarian. I fell into being a classroom teacher, and then I became a librarian. But I will never forget my first couple of weeks at my school as a junior high librarian. And there was one young man who I remember like just hearing about him from all the teachers, that he was squirrely and couldn't sit in his desk, and he was always wandering the halls. And he would come into the library and he would get these books and he would not ever return them for weeks and weeks at a time. But we came to this like understanding, he and I don't know, just he would come into that library and sometimes he would have 10, 15 books out. And every couple of months I'd be like, come on, let's go down to your locker. Let's get these books out. That was the most important thing to me, that he just wanted to read. I never wanted him to feel bad that he didn't return the books, that he was squirrely and couldn't sit in class or anything like that. I wanted him to feel welcomed in the library. And I think it was those first few weeks in that school where I watched him just like feel comfortable and want to be there, and just kept getting books and more books and more books. I was like, this is it for me. This is the inspiration. And it was just fun to see these kids really love to be in the library and talk to each other and find new books and find material that really excited them. So
no, and this is why I wanted to make sure we connected again, because for those of you who are watching, you can see, Gretchen's and Davina's face light up when they talk about their own personal experiences and they talk about the impact it has. And I think I saw that in the event I was in. I was like, we need to capture this. And Gretchen, one of the things that you just said, and as an elementary school student in the 70s and middle school in the early 80s, I remember a lot of those checkout things or the slips in the back of the, I remember that. And there's so many things our students now with the technology that we have might not get a chance to experience. I saw something on Instagram where it had like the chalk holder, the 5 chalk holder things, and you go across and the lines are, I was a teacher in early 90s, so these aren't that far off. but how has social media impacted libraries, and how can librarians really guide some of this misinformation that we're hearing now?
Well, we know that our students get most of their news and information from social media. So for someone who, like you said, we're dating ourselves, but the 70s and 80s, so grew up with the reporter, with the
Oh,
microphone,
yes.
we, and the trusted news source, my father would come home from work and the Washington Post would be sitting on the front step every morning, or like I said, he'd come home and after reading that, we'd turn on the nightly news, and so it's definitely a different information landscape.
Mm-hmm.
So really, that critical thinking piece about who's behind the information, what the facts are, and can we verify those facts? So in our information literacy instruction, we talk a lot about information being verifiable, credible, and reliable, and helping students know what that looks like and then how to determine that for themselves.
I like that. And Davina, I'm going to add a little bit to this, if you could jump into it, because one of the things we talk about, Gretchen eloquently talked about making this a safe place digitally. And how do we also make the libraries a safe place physically when kids go in? Like, what are some design pieces that we can make the library a safe place for our learners?
Are you talking about like emotionally safe? Are you talking about, or just in general, like inclusivity?
I think both. I think how do
Okay.
we make sure that we have spaces that kids want to go to, that they
Yeah.
are safe to check out the books that they want to read, that they're emotionally safe, that they're
Yeah. Okay.
physically
Yeah.
safe. Obviously, I think that's critical, but how are we making that the library space, not only a collaborative
Yeah.
space, but a safe space?
I don't know if you've heard of just it's not cliche. Someone said it was cliche to me the other day, and I was like, it's always going to have a tender heart. But windows, mirrors, and doors,
Yes,
and just
definitely
that.
not cliche.
Yeah, I think so too. But just that we are always, selecting. We're very intentional about the materials that we select that are reflective of our school communities. And then also give kids an opportunity to learn about other kids that are in their school community, and
So important.
and throughout the world. And so I think that's one piece that we do as librarians, is just being very intentional about the materials that we select and the criteria we use to make sure that it's the material that is reflective of our school communities. And then our librarians are just, I sent a message out last week to our Utah librarians just saying Happy School and Librarian Day. And one of the things that I highlighted to them was that they are, the way that they interact with those kids, the smiles, the greeting them, like the connections that they're making, the personal interactions with them is so important. They are, without that relationship with students, students won't come to the library. It won't matter what's in the library if you don't have
so important.
A librarian who reaches out and gets to know each of their students. And so we're really thoughtful about that, I think, and making that place a place that all students will want to be, and teachers too.
And families.
And
families. Absolutely. So important. And I want to thank you both for jumping on to kick off this exciting week and having a chance to meet you and talk about the collaboration that is happening with librarians, with school administrators, with parents, with state events. And I think for me, that is part of why I wrote Stronger Together, because as a principal, it was important that we all work together. And part of the work that I try to do in conferences and meeting so many great people. But if I were to ask you, so our last question for each of you, if I say, what does Stronger Together mean to you? What does it mean in your work?
For me, I think Stronger Together means helping create the future that we all want and that our students deserve. I want a literate, well-informed citizenry. I want those types of people to be our future leaders, and whatever I can do to help, I think it takes all of us together in order to create that.
I like it.
Yeah, I couldn't probably say it better, but I do remember this. I'm going to not say this quote right, but back in the day, it was like one brain and one brain, or one human and one human does not equal two humans. It equals like 3 and 4 and 5. And the more people you get together to come together and share ideas and perspectives, we grow more, we're more creative, we're more innovative. And so our differences make us stronger. And I think that I just love that stronger together, because I think it makes all the difference in the world.
Wonderful. Well, thank you both for taking time to kick off this exciting week. The work that you all are doing in the state and working with the librarians is great. And I hope I have a chance to come back and collaborate and be part of the work that you're doing again soon. And make sure to continue to check this out. And all of the work, we just had some amazing Utah educators. If you watch back the last probably 10 Stronger Together podcasts, you'll see some of the amazing educators that are carrying out this work that Gretchen and Davina just shared. So thank you both for coming on today.
Thank you for having us. We love you, Utah librarians.
There you go. Have an awesome week. Continue to work together, support each other, make our libraries an inspiring place for our students and our learners, and make sure we are always putting we over me as we build our Stronger Together mindset.